talk a little bit about your favorite controllers. How do you feel about arcade stick versus control pad?
Okay. One of my favorite controllers, and I'm only going to touch on this briefly because I think we've done this before, is the 6-button Genesis controller.
That's quality.
I really like it. It's fun for fighting games. I like the second design Saturn controller a lot.
With triggers that actually don't break.
And I do actually think the 360 controller, minus the shitty D-pad, is a fairly comfortable controller to hold.
The D-pad kills it for me, though.
Yeah. In terms of arcade stick versus controller, that's totally up to you, and I don't get on people who want to use one over the other. With fighting games, and I'm not good at them, I personally like the fight stick better. Why? Just because if I'm ever in a position where I'm in an arcade and I can play against someone, just even for fun, I'm more on that level.
You're a moron?
Well, that too. But I'm more on that level. Because with more fingers available, it's just easier to hit those combos that require the dexterity.
Sure.
That said, I know when I do play fighting games with people at my place, like on a Sunday, and when I have people over for fighters, we usually use pads. Why? Because most people are just comfortable with pads.
Yeah,
and
fine.
we're not playing at a high enough level where it's going to matter.
I prefer joysticks for shooters.
Yep.
Just because my thumb gets tired and it wears you down.
Yeah, playing Raiden with the Raiden games with an arcade stick is just fantastic.
The TurboGrafx arcade stick is a must-have for the shooters in the system. It
nice.
just feels nicer. It feels a little bit more precise, I would just say. It's just more fun.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. The buttons are nice in that too. I think we have talked about this before. I just love how the Super Nintendo controller laid out the design going forward for all their control pads. I always talk about this.
We have talked about this because I'm actually pretty negative on the Super Nintendo.
I know you're negative.
Yeah.
I know it had flimsy triggers, but other than that, I love the controller. The D-pad is fantastic.
Mushy.
The D-pad is fantastic on that thing.
Mushy.
Pulling off so many freaking sweet Street Fighter 2 special moves. Anyway, I love the NES Max for games like ice hockey.
You and Treg both.
That's fantastic for ice hockey or track and field or anything where you have to go left and right a lot smoothly.
I do really like. I think I mentioned this when we discussed before. I love an NES controller that's just in good shape, crisp, clean. Like the D-pad on an NES controller is nice. The buttons have that nice feel to them.
They could have put the NES D-pad on the Xbox 360 controller. No one would have complained. It would have been fine. Don't overthink it.
Well, then that's the thing that everything started to get more ergonomic and round, and I suppose you had to as you added more buttons. But the rectangle shape of the NES never hurt my hands. I always thought it was.
Playing the marathon, it hurts after 6-7 hours. It does start to hurt.
Eventually, you dig a corner, but it's really not that bad.